Hey, what is up? Let's get the Pelicans hat on there. Going with the Pelicans today. A little bit of a different background, and I guess that makes sense. It's been a long time since I've been here with you guys on an inside corner. So, boy, it's been months. Life kind of got crazy, huh? In the time since we've last recorded one of these. So, if you're watching this for the first time, of course, if you're watching this, I assume you know who I am, because why the hell else would you just randomly come here and do that? And I always feel like a dick when I'm like, do you know who I am? Because I'll pull that sometimes, like people online, and they'll call me out for something. I'm like, not like, dude, like I'm some big deal, but like, you realize I have a context. I have a whole background of supporting something or not supporting something. So, if you understood who I am, then you would understand why you're spouting foolishness right now. Anyway, who am I? I'm Evan Altman. I am the proprietor, I should say owner, co-owner, and editor-in-chief of Cubs Insider. One of the foremost Cubs blogs that's out there right now. Although, my goodness, hard to kind of judge how that's looking right now. So we'll get into that. I have been, let me finish. I love this mug. Isn't this awesome? This is the one you'll see, as I toast you at the end here, in the video for this. But last week was technically spring break, even though we're all kind of at home now. I took the week off from work, and I'm actually recording this from I'm in my bedroom. This is where my new office is set up, because I'll be working from home for at least another month. And I don't know if you can see behind me here. I'm not moving the kids. We're stationary, so if I had a cameraman, we'd pan over and see this for sure. But a print of the birth of Venus, which is my favorite piece of art ever. I remember I saw that as a college student, and just and not just because of the boobs, right? Hey, it's a naked chick. That's cool. But it's something about it just kind of spoke to me, right? And so it's hanging in the Uffizi in Florence, Italy. And so my junior year in college, I had the good fortune to be able to have a class there and got to go see it. And my wife and I actually, was it 2 summers ago now? I think so. 2 years ago, almost a year and a half. We're out there again in Florence. And so that was incredible, and I love it, and I feel so deeply right now for the people of Italy who are going through some terrible times. I mean, as we are here, right? It's a kind of a worldwide struggle. I'm really looking forward to go back. My plan is to be back there next summer and to take my daughter. So really looking forward to that. And I'm kind of short of breath. I don't know why. So pardon me if I'm taking these deep breaths in the middle of this, but no, it's just the coolest thing. And the last time, so the first time I went to Florence was, that was when I got my first tattoo ever. It was my fraternity letters. I'm a Sigma Chi, and I was there for college. And so I got my fraternity letters tattooed in a little alleyway right behind our hotel in Florence. And that place no longer exists. But when my wife and I went back, I found another shop, and the guy who gave me this next tattoo actually knew who the woman was who owned the shop, and we were kind of talking about that. He didn't speak very good English, but we figured it out. And so I don't know if you can see them. I don't know if I've showed these before on here, but we'll see. I know they're upside down, so just flip your camera over. But it's the hand of God and Adam from the ceiling, the roof of the Sistine Chapel. So anyway, just kind of something I wanted to get there. So got a bunch of others. I was supposed to have gotten some more on my trip to the London series to see the Cubs play the Cardinals. I had an appointment at a shop in London, and then another at a shop in Reykjavik, because I was going to stop in Iceland for a couple days after. So huge bummer that was canceled. But anyway, let's get to it. I know I've already been kind of all over the map. I guess literally, if we go with geography and kind of everything else. So I'm going to try to stick to a few topics here and hit on a couple things. It's been such a long time too. This is a part of the problem with going so long between these, is there's a whole lot that's happened between the last time, and there's a whole lot that's going on right now. So how do I kind of compartmentalize that? So I will try to today. So I got I going back to where I was, right? I've been drinking just kind of a lot during spring because I'm like, I don't want to wake up. It's no big deal, whatever. And I was gonna go kind of dry this week and dry it out, and then it's like all these crappy things kind of happen. And then I got this huge shipment from Tavor, which if you've frequented this in the past, you know it's like a craft beer delivery service, like a membership club, and they curate their list. Sorry, I got an eyelash over here. They curate their list, and you pick from. And so I think, you know, some of it was the timing, and this box shipped a little late because of some initial stuff, and so I got 2 boxes today. It's a lot of beer, dude. It's like a lot of beer, which is good because I don't have to go to the liquor store. But you know, kind of made me take a break a little bit for my dryness. So I went like 3 days, which is cool. But today's session, this looks like something out of Mortal Kombat for those of you who have who have played that game before. I believe this one's from Adroit Theory. I'll check this out, but it's Break the System. It's a Hazy Imperial from Adroit Theory. What's kind of cool here is on the back side, they give you a bunch of things. So it's a Hazy Imperial IPA. So it's double dry hopped with Azaka and Amarillo hops. Also Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic. So what's kind of nice, so Mosaic, it's not so new now, but it was new a few years ago. I'd say maybe 3-4 years ago. And you know, a lot of people, some of the, if it's straight up Mosaic, there is a distinct odor of cat pee, if you will. And I think we've mentioned this on the show before, so I shall not get into that any further. But as you can see, my lighting's not great. You know, I need like one of those nice ring lights. You know what I mean? If I was doing this legit, that's what I'd have. But definitely a hazy, which is kind of funny because some of these hazies now, like it's become such a craze, people just throw it on there. I'm like, that's not hazy. You just almost didn't filter it very heavily, but it's definitely, so this one's got, you know, some kind of a, I guess it would be sort of a war god. There's blood going on, but there's only got a skull and a crown and a sword going through it. But yeah, Break the System. What's cool though is in addition to giving you that, so this is this guy's 8.2%. So pretty significant, but anymore, like 8.2 a few years ago, that would have been a big deal. Now it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. That's, you know, it's an Imperial IPA, no big deal. But it gives you not just food pairing, but like, so it's got a food, cheese, and cigar pairing on here. And like, not just like, oh, this would be good with red meat, but no, it's a skirt steak with hazelnut piccata and wilted escarole. Because who doesn't just have that lying around, especially in today's market? Cheese. I don't even know I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher the pronunciation of whatever. And a cigar. My father, the judge, yeah. Okay. Sure, let me get on that. A little bit too involved. And but it does, what I like is it walks the line between being a little bit overly erudite and then, you know, maybe being like self-aware that they're kind of full of themselves. So, but Adroit Theory does a lot of really good, big, super hoppy hazies and other IPAs and things. So this is a really good one. Dude, I've got some really good stuff down there. So maybe we even do a few shows. What I should have done, if I was smart, what I would have done was say, hey, dumbass, you've got all this time. Block out some of these and separate some of these topics. So maybe I'll do that. A couple things I do want to hit on those, right? So this is Cubs themed, right? As we can tell here. So there is no baseball. But if you're for some odd reason, if you watch this and haven't been to my site, please go there because we are struggling. And that is a common theme. So there's some stuff that came out recently, Fangraphs, right? Super popular baseball statistics site came out and said, you know what? I feel like I'm off a little bit. Let's center myself a little bit more. Let's do that. Although, you know, I think it's more intriguing to the eye if I'm a little bit off center. So maybe we do that too. But Fangraphs was really struggling, had to lay some people off or take pay cuts at least, and kind of stop some of the freelance stuff. I know The Athletic stopped the freelance stuff, but The Athletic has subscriptions, so they're a little bit more, I think, of a static income, whereas, you know, because they don't have the ads, whereas Fangraphs is supported by ads. And they're showing the graph of their traffic, and it sucked, but the thing is they've been established for a long time, so their traffic is it's seasonal and cyclical, but it's year over year, the trending stayed about the same. Cubs Insider, while we do not, fully employ people the way Fangraphs does, and it's weird, I stare into the microphone as if that's like the video, but I should be looking down here. So I apologize if I've been like staring over your forehead. Sorry. I didn't mean to not look you in the eye. But anyway, so we do fairly good traffic, fairly good revenue. Now the people on Facebook, I've been reminded many times that I know nothing, that nobody cares about my site, and that nobody goes there, which is really neat. But last year we did a little over 6.8 million page views, 2019, right? And that was up. Let's say the year before was, what were we at? I think we're at 3.5, maybe. That's 2018, I think, like 3.5. 2017, we were somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2.5. And 2016, we were at like 500,000. So if you think about that, so we like did 5 times the growth, and then increase that by about 50%, and then about 50%, and then about 100%. We almost doubled 2019 over 2020. And so you think about February, we start to really take off, and you get the weird, like December's really good because of all the trade rumors and signings, things like that. And January kind of tapers off a little bit. February gets really good because of spring training, starts to ramp up. March kind of does, and then toward the middle of March, because you're getting spring training coming to an end, you're getting more of the position battles are getting figured out, the roster's getting figured out, starts to take off, and it just shoots up like crazy in March. Well, I've showed the graph on Twitter even, so you can go out there and see it. But as of March, I mean, you can see it. It's wild, because if you look at year over year from March, last March was here, this March was up here, right? They're tracking like this. They're going like this, and then all of a sudden, March 12th, they flip, and we just dropped off the face of the earth. Whereas last year, by about mid-March, we took off. And so we're doing right now maybe 10 to 20% of the traffic that we had expected based on trend and where we're going. On top of that, the advertising rates, right? Because people aren't buying things, so people can't really advertise things to them. And so those advertisers are not spending that much money, and they're definitely not spending much money on sports blogs because nobody's coming to view sports blogs. So, we could sit there and say it's we're at 20% of where we thought we'd be traffic wise, but revenue wise, it's even below that. And we're not one that relies on employing a bunch of people. So you think about something like Fangraphs, you think about ESPN, and again, there's a difference, so I guess that's not really fair, but if you think of these sports-centric sites, you think about radio stations, you think about newspapers, right? Sports centers, sports pages, I guess, things like that. I should drink some of this. So, that's good. I should talk about this, shouldn't I? But I'm talking about this other stuff. I'll hit this. We'll get to it. So you saw like Intercom, 670 The Score, laid off 4 people today. People that I knew. Julie DeCaro, very good friend of mine. My podcast co-host, which probably means I don't have a podcast anymore. I haven't really chosen to think about that because it would be like really selfish. I mean, I guess we still could do it, but it was hosted by 670. That's kind of weird deal. So maybe I'll do more of these. I don't know. Maybe I'll do more of my own podcast, which I have. It's kind of crappy, but it's there. And I know Julie was let go, Connor McKnight, I think David Schuster, and Rick Camp, I believe. And I'm sure there were maybe some others, but those are the 4 that I know of. And it's not going to stop there. Because again, 670 relies on ad revenue. Advertisers are looking for the sports stuff. So, I mean, everything's down, man. And it's kind of counterintuitive in a way, because you think like everybody's home all the time. You're not blocked by the work. Although I am actually. I have my my work. We still have I have the VPN through there, so we're all that still, my stuff's still blocked on here, and I can't see all of it. But a lot of people are home. You'd think, but there's nothing happening. There's nothing new. Even the national guys, there was like nothing today. Super depressing. So the only thing I say is try to whatever extent you can. If you have the wherewithal to buy merchandise from sites that you enjoy, please do so. If you can afford memberships, please do so. If you can upgrade the memberships you already have, please do so. And in the case of something like Cubs Insider, We have merch for sale. We have T-shirts and things like that. We rarely, I don't think we've sold one for months, at least not that I'm aware. And they're kind of dumb, and like the design, the one designer, we got screwed because I think the Cubs called them on something and like tattled on us, and they shut down all our designs, and so we kind of had to rework it. And the new one's not as fun to work with. Our profit margins are much higher, but we don't sell anything. So anyway, if you got 20, 30, 40 bucks to waste, maybe do that, but visit the sites, right? Like click on the articles, check out the articles, look at the advertising, do stuff like that. I mean, and I don't want to say like artificially like click on everything to try to pump us up, because that looks bad in the end. So it kind of shows that it's fake. But and not just us, but go to different sites, and please try to do that and patronize those, because it's similar to doing takeout at the restaurant that you would have gone to eat. We're all kind of in this economy, but you do that for free. Like you can go to our site, right? We're not a paywall, and it's free. So if you have the chance to do that, that'd be great, and spend some time there. Maybe leave your window open, go take a leak or whatever. Go warm up a microwave dinner, and leave the site up. That'd be really cool of you. Anyway, so the whole reason this is happening, of course, is because sports are shut down. The coronavirus has effectively brought life as we know it to a screeching halt, and it sucks, right? And it's okay to say that it sucks. I see people out there like, oh, I see all these people complaining they're bored. That's not, like, no. I mean, it's fine. Like, it's the human condition. We need people with whom to commiserate. We don't need to pack that in. And if you want to qualify that, and I have multiple times, I'm bored, man. This sucks. Like, I'm working from home. My kids are on spring break. There's their second week of spring break. They got a third week of spring break, and they're not going back to school at all. Indiana has shut down all schools. No schools are going back the rest of the semester. So my wife, my kids, not going back. So we're all in this house together for at least the next 4 to 5 weeks, at a minimum, and probably more than that. So, whew, that ain't easy. I'm in this chair like 8 hours a day now, and it blows. So, find ways, like blow off steam. Find ways to do that. Try to get outside. The weather's starting to get nice. It was awesome today to get out there. I clipped down the rose bushes. We had an unseasonably kind of warm, mild winter. So my roses are all doing really well. So that gives me hope. It's nice to see that new life. Excuse me, and it makes me feel good about it. So find things, if you have a refuge, a sanctuary, because sports used to be that. When shitty things happen in life, whether it be 9/11 or whether it be these unfortunate, these mass shootings that come along far too often, God, I just actually realized that the fact that we're not gathering that's depressing as hell to think that a positive out of this is that we can't gather in large groups to have those things happen. But my God, where have we gotten that that's a thing that I can actually even think of and consciously believe is a good thing? Anyway, but sports were that thing that we could turn to, that it was our escape, right? That we could talk about and write about, and just even with guys that you go to work and maybe somebody who you never talk to other than the time that you're there at work, or it's someone that you're in line at the restaurant or whatever, and the guy's got a Cubs shirt on or something, and you just start chatting about things. We don't have that right now. It's not there, and so we're all thrown out of whack. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's weird about it, but there's that familiar touchstone. I don't know if I got my beer pants on. I don't know if you can see that, but that's gone. And it really, really sucks. Like and that's okay. It's okay to lament that loss. Like that's not trivial, right? I know we kind of say sometimes, people like, I'm still writing stuff about the Cubs. Like, to me, that's not trivial. That's a big part of my life. It's a big part of yours if you're watching this. So it does suck, and I don't think it's a problem to acknowledge that and to live in that, and maybe we can kind of own that together. So the hope, let's get to that. Let's talk about the hope for Bill. Let's talk about some good things that maybe are coming, because I'd rather do that than focus on the bad. And I want to talk about a couple other quick things that I've had in the works and that I will have in the works after this is over. And ideally, I'll come back here and do this. But let me get into this guy a little bit more. So this is definitely not. This is a little. I really, like, it's tough because I I love the stuff from Chicago, the Hot Butcher, Corridor Brewing, Maplewood. They're just flat out like orange juice. And this guy's this is close. I mean, as far as consistency, color, all that, this is close. But I mean, that stuff that drinks like orange juice, I mean, it is juicy. It's got that super kind of that fruity back end without too much bitterness. Just a little bit thinner, a little bit more on the bitter note, but I'm super good on the nose. A little bit more of that grapefruit. I don't like grapefruit as a standalone. Love it in beer. But this is more grapefruit than orange, I would say. And just a little earthy. So it's kind of that real earthy dankness that you get from the Mosaic. That's more on that back end of that. It's not really forward, but it's down there. And then it's not super malty. I'd like to have maybe a little bit more of that in this. A little bit more of that backbone, because at a little over 8%, you do kind of want something to really stand up there at the back end. But it's a solid offering. And that's what I love about this. Like, so Tavour, you buy them one at a time. I generally try to get two. This time I got a bunch of fours, so I've got like a ton of beer. So if you go to my Twitter timeline at D Evan Altman, if you don't know that, DEVANALTMAN, I got some pictures on there. Huge stuff with it, just the big selection. So anyway, we check that out. So let's talk about the baseball season. The latest report that came out yesterday via Matt Spiegel. So yesterday, as if you're all going to be watching this on the same day, and by the time you actually do watch this, it'll be 2 days ago. So it was on Wednesday that it came out. Wednesday the 1st, right? Not an April Fool's joke, though. Thank God those were mostly set to the side. Was that someone who he talked to who works with a lot of Major League execs had mentioned that a lot of what they're kind of trying to aim for now. So they've been saying all along that they really would like to shoot for a June 1st. That highly unlikely to happen. So let's just think about all the schools are shut down. Everything else is happening. There's a lot of time to go. May looks unrealistic at this point. May 10th is like the earliest they could start based on the CDC guidelines. Unlikely to happen. We've already seen, Japan and Korea are starting back up with some organized activities, practice, things like that, but they both pushed back the starts of their season. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. Oh, feels better though. But it sounds like June would be a great start date for maybe a new spring training. Whether it's the start of June, partway through, they really want to target July 1st as a start date. And so the All-Star game was supposed to be July 14th, and you have games that are started back up July 17th. So you have, 13, 14, 15, 16 off. They can use those for games now. So they start on July 1st, they play that, add that in. So you had about 3 weeks, two and a half weeks of games tacked on. They would pick up right with the second half schedule on July 17th, play that out till it'd be September 26th, I think is when it's supposed to end. And then they would play till October 15th. So you got about 3 weeks on the back end. So about 2.5 weeks in the front, 3 weeks on the back. I think it's something like 32 days, 32, 33 game days in there. Now, if you look at the Cubs, not everybody has the same schedule, but the Cubs were scheduled for 66 games in the second half. You figure, okay, 32 days on that, that's 98 games. They want to play 100 games. So maybe you squeeze in a couple on an off day here. Maybe you have a couple double headers early or one late, something like that. Boom, there you go. There's your 100 games, right? And you could still do that with a fairly organic schedule that maintains a lot of those off days through that second half, just like they already would have. So it's very easy. So that is some. Now, the All-Star game would be eliminated. The All-Star game was supposed to be in Los Angeles. We've heard they've talked about using a neutral site for the World Series. In this case, it would mean putting the World Series in Los Angeles because we're talking about, mid-November. Chances for an unseasonably warm November are really good throughout the Midwest. However, they don't want to risk that. And again, it's making up for this consolation for LA losing out on the All-Star game. They have a really good team that could make it to the World Series anyway, so there's a potential for them to host it. Now, if the Dodgers make it, then the road games, I do that like they would really be road games, but they're set to host. So like if the Cubs and the Yankees made it, all 7 games would be at Dodger Stadium. If the Dodgers make it, then let's say they're the host, the 3 or 4 either way. Those road games will be played at San Diego or Anaheim. Probably Anaheim, that makes more sense, less travel. But there's a lot going on there. So a lot of things happening. The chances are really good that they're going to open these games in empty stadiums either way, depending on how things go. The later they push it, the less likely that is, but it's still entirely possible that they'll do that. The other really big problem, and this is, I really want to show my support for the minor leagues right now, and for the Pelicans in particular. The folks there have been so good to me, and I really try to help them out at every turn. I truly do I truly consider them family at this point. I've worked with the Pelicans for the last, I think, 4 Cubs conventions to do interviews down there with them. I've sung the 7th inning stretch at the ballpark there twice. Both times I've visited, they've just always been so gracious and so welcoming to me. I try to pay that back as best I can. The problem here is that minor league baseball is really in dire straits right now, because the majors are one thing. You got 30 teams. They all have additional facilities. There are ways for them to somehow find, if their particular area is really bad, they can get to other areas. They can play neutral site games if they absolutely have to, right? The other thing about the majors is if they play to an empty ballpark, they're still getting money from the television revenue, assuming they can carry a broadcast. They can have broadcast crew there. That's where much of their money is made. Now, they're going to lose a bunch on gate revenue, but minor league baseball doesn't have that. They might be televised. They're not making money off that. They're making money off the gate revenue, the concessions, whatever. They're not going to play in empty stadiums there. It doesn't make any sense. Not to mention the fact that Major League Baseball has suspended all of the uniform player contracts under which minor league baseball players operate. First of all, it was to be able to pay them, because they're only paid during the regular season in accordance with their contract. They had to suspend the contracts to be able to pay them $400 weekly, which is cool for the lower guys. It's actually a pay cut for the upper guys, but we won't, maybe we'll talk about that on another one. Maybe we'll talk about the minors on that. But that also means they don't have any actual relationships with their affiliates right now, technically. So they have to bring those back. So it's all at Major League Baseball's discretion. They're trying to cut out the minors anyway. It's a difficult deal. So that sucks. Yeah, so we've already talked about a lot, and I could probably dig into some more here. Probably what I should do is maybe we'll talk about the minors a little bit more. I do want to talk about some of the things specific to the Pelicans, so maybe I'll bring that up. I should maybe save the jersey for the next time, but I could throw on a different Pelicans hat the next time. This would be pretty cool. Definitely want to talk about, I do not have the time to do it now, so that's the next thing I should do. Remind me, right? Whether it's social media, if you're actually watching this, and you can see this later, I definitely want to talk about on our next episode, and I want to film this, maybe I'll film it even tomorrow, or in the next couple days, about Rachel Folden, who's a Cubs, she's their lead hitting lab tech, and a minor league hitting coach for them. Super awesome person, super great. Got the chance to talk with her last week. Did a really lengthy Q&A that's up on Cubs Insider right now. We talked for an hour. And it was great, because I just reached out to her. She's like, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to. And we start talking, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I'm taking you so long. And she's all just like, no, this is great. I'm having a blast. This is so fun. And so we just got into talking baseball and talking hitting. And I've got an 11-year-old son who was supposed to be playing baseball. He's not right now, obviously. But just great stuff. So a lot of stuff. If you coach baseball or softball on any level, fast pitch, slow pitch, whatever, if you have kids who play, if you have grandkids who play, whatever, go check that out. Again, go to Cubs Insider. It's on there somewhere. You can search for it. But really cool stuff just about coaching philosophy and hitting philosophy, and it made me focus on a few things. So I'll talk about those a little bit, and then also I want to talk about Justin Stone, who's the Cubs director of hitting. And I'm trying to work something out with him. We're going to do an interview with him, hopefully in the near future. But some great stuff that he's got on Elite Baseball. And so I subscribe to their stuff, and have been looking at some coaching videos, some instructional stuff, and really instant difference in an 11-year-old. So a lot of the stuff is aimed at youth hitters, right? So a little bit different when you're talking about major leaguers. So that's what I really want to pick his brain about. We've also got I got an interview with Alec Mills that happened a couple weeks ago. The Cubs right-handed pitcher was vying for a rotation spot before the season got canceled or postponed, not canceled, postponed. Really good stuff there. Really good dude. Some cool stuff. And then I'm actually going to be talking. So this is Thursday night. I'm going to be talking tomorrow with Ian Miller, who's another Cubs player. Was really like a borderline pick. Really a good option to have made the roster. Kind of coming out of nowhere. They had signed him to a minor league deal, or a split deal, I think, after the Twins had released him, or he became a free agent. They optioned him, outrighted him. But super cool stuff. Speedster, had led spring training in stolen bases, and typically kind of a light hitter, but had really shown some pop last year at AAA. Made his debut with the Twins, and then has gone on the Cubs sign him. So I'm going to be talking with him just kind of about a few different things, his philosophy on just being kind of the speedster, right? How does that really work? Is it just about being fast? Is it what else goes into that? So I figure that'll be a pretty fun conversation. And he's actually represented by the same agency that represents Mills. And so after, I'd reached out to them, they'd shared a tweet that I had about Mills. I was like, hey, I'd love to talk to him if we get a chance. And then they set it up. And the day I was supposed to have the call with him was March 12th when Major League Baseball shut down. So it took about a week to finally catch back up with him. But then out of the blue, they just like, hey, would you like to talk with Ian Miller? So that was cool. So I guess that means I did a fairly good job. Like Mills didn't hate it too much, and it did okay. So it was kind of fun. So be on the lookout for those things. This last thing, if those of you who've been around it, and part of why it's kind of been a break from here, if you kind of remember all the way back to when this stuff was going on, at the time that I was kind of doing more of these, my daughter had been in the hospital for a long time, and she spent six weeks in halo traction, gravity traction. She had scoliosis, followed by a dual stage spinal fusion and correction surgery to kind of straighten her spine, a couple rods, a bunch of screws, got that stuff all fixed. She's back, normal, pain-free, not completely cleared for all kinds of sports stuff. I mean, we were playing some wiffle ball in the backyard today. We've been kicking a soccer ball around. It's been really nice. She's been walking. Essentially back to like better than normal. I actually did a podcast. So I have a podcast called Deep Like Leviathan, Leviathan. And she actually guested on my most recent one. So you can go listen to her kind of talking about just her hospital stay and all the stuff around that if you have an inclination to do so. But that's been really, really super cool. Now, also cool is the fact that we had already met her deductible when we went into the hospital for the surgery, which was nice because the claims have all been kind of lumped together when I finally saw them. And I'm very, very thankful that we've got insurance, which is obviously super important now. So I just, I've sort of glossed over everything, but I really do. I sincerely hope that, again, I know if you're watching this, you're sitting at home. I hope you stay there. I hope you stay there as much as possible, unless you absolutely need to leave. Just be safe, right? Just be smart, be safe. Take care of those loved ones around you. It's not always about us individually, but it's about the other people with whom we come into contact, and just kind of limiting that as much as it sucks. And I sincerely hope we all come out of this with a greater appreciation. I'm not one that kind of, sometimes I sort of like to avoid people. And I'm hoping that changes a little bit, and not that it changes. I'll probably still try to avoid some people, but just that human connection that we sort of lack, that we're all sort of walled off a little bit, intentionally and rightly so. But gosh, I can't wait to try to find whatever this new normal is. I just hope it's different from what the current normal is, and we can kind of get to that point. So, I'm really, really thankful for the health and the safety of my own family, and I hope the same is true for yours. If there's anything that I can do, even if it's something as simple as just give me a thumbs up on Twitter. Like, I don't know what I can do from here, right? I say things like that. I don't want that to be hollow, but I really do. I do believe that we can all help one another out. There is power in positivity. There is power in just lifting each other up, and just having, whether it be a shoulder to cry on or somebody to commiserate with, or to yell at every once in a while to get that out. We need to do so. And this community social media, stuff like that is I think sometimes, again, it can be trite and it can be silly, but it can be really important in times like this because it does connect us in a way that we can't in reality at this point. So I hope all of you are well. Would love for you to drop me a line on Twitter, or if it be on Facebook. I don't do Facebook as much anymore. It kind of scares me these days, but certainly reach out, and I hope everyone's well. So remind me if you're watching this, Kyle, and you end up checking something out, getting back at me on Twitter, remind me, because I want to talk a little bit more about some of the hitting drills that we've been working through, because I think that's really practical stuff. You got a kid, you're going through some of these things right now, and my daughter just walked into the room, so I don't know what she's doing, but she needs to grab something. So she's going to go grab something. Don't mind her. She's in the background. She can't be seen. So I definitely want to talk about that stuff with the drills. I want to talk about some of the minor league things and how you can maybe support your local minor league team, or even your non-local one, whether it be the Pelicans. We can do some stuff like that. So I want to cover a couple of those things. And then maybe we'll dig into a couple of little other things with the season, how that can break down, how things could happen. And, maybe what happens if there is no season. So with that, so that'll be like the special edition. Maybe like the at home, like how do we help these other folks? I know I talked about it with the sports blogs, but definitely some of the little workout stuff. And maybe I'll share some of those videos so you can see those on the show. Anyway, we'll figure out how that goes. But until then, I'm gonna drink one more of these. But I really appreciate you guys hanging around, and we'll see where this goes, and we'll be there next time.